If there is one face that I am thoroughly tired of seeing all over media in recent years, it's the face of this spoiled brat who has been given more opportunities in her 26 years than most people will ever see in their lives, who has spent her entire life looking down on the world from her ivory tower of stardom and yet still insists on condescending to the rest of Western society about her imagined victimhood. Emma Watson and her insipid he for she campaign have been a shining example of exactly how smug, dishonest, willfully blind, and self-serving feminism has become. Because only in the current year could a fresh-faced, barely adult actress with a net worth of $80 million complain about women being underpaid, even threatening to overtake the last spoiled young actress to levy the same complaints as the highest-paid actress in Hollywood, despite every economist telling her that she's wrong. Only in the current year could a multimillionaire in her mid-20s go from being the female face of a $15 billion franchise to being the goodwill ambassador for UN Women before the age of 30 and still have the audacity to assert that women don't have a voice. It is entirely appropriate that she served as the punching bag in Sargon of Akkad's fantastic Why Does Everyone Hate Feminism series, as in being subject to an onslaught of reasonable and spirited objections to her nonsense, she still has the proverbial balls to play dumb and feign confusion about why the word feminism has taken on such a negative connotation, even going so far as to imply that this massive wave of dissent is down to nothing more than the hatred of women and fragile masculinity. And in doing so, she completely ignores any and all decidedly anti-male sentiments coming from her own movement in her asinine invitation for men to join and ultimately do all of the legwork in spreading her propaganda. Never mind the staggering amount of male issues that go unaddressed to this very day, largely due to the protesting efforts of feminist millennials, while she insists that he be for she. And yet still, she is consistently hoisted on the shoulders of mass media as a hero, as Hollywood seems increasingly desperate to plaster her image across the silver screen. And we just know that every project she touches is going to smack of her agenda, which is why nobody was surprised when her presence in the new Beauty and the Beast film could not come without some feminist talking point or another weaseling its way into the script, and certainly not without a heavy dose of demonization for those who have no patience for her and her ilk shitting all over their collective childhood. And even with the divisive shitstorm that sprouts in her wake wherever she goes and in everything she does, there is still no end to this in sight as she is handed one role after another, year after year, and maintains a strongly lingering presence among the talking heads of many celebrity rumor mills. So I might as well get started on responding to her bullshit now. And even though this particular interview took place a few months ago, I think it will serve just fine as a starting point.
People know you for he for she,
yes.
The United Nations Solidarity Movement, bringing men into feminism. What's the latest with that program? What can you tell us about where that is and your involvement with it?
Beyond beautiful. Yes, because that's what she needs. An even more inflated ego at the expense of Entertainment Weekly's oh-so-lofty standard of beauty.
What I would really love to focus on is there's a lot of missing data in that we have about women and girls, and there's a lot of these gaps that I'd love to try and fill and get some more information on, because when you can show the data on something, it makes something visible, and it's very difficult to treat a problem that you just don't have.
You know, Emma, for all the pontificating your side has done about male privilege, you remain shockingly incapable of even the slightest measure of introspection. This open admission of your ignorance, this confession that you don't actually know what the fuck you're talking about, should damn you in the eyes of anyone with a modicum of intellectual honesty. It should destroy your credibility and set you back to square one, whereby nobody of influence has the patience to entertain your divisive horse shit until you actually have the figures to back up your claims. And there is clearly no shortage of people who agree with me, as indicated by the abysmal approval rating of every video associated with you and your campaign. But fortunately for you, and to our lasting dismay, you have the distinct privilege of being supported by ideologues who have large bank accounts, care little for truth, and have an axe to grind with men. These are gaps that you would love to fill with any victim narrative you can muster. So much so that you are willing to shout oppression and blame the patriarchy before you even have the data you seek. You see, Emma, there's a word for this particular brand of bullshit you're slinging. It's called apologetics. And it is the precise opposite of an academically honest approach to identifying and solving a problem. It is to be certain of your conclusion through blind faith before anything is properly examined at all, and then look for evidence to support that conclusion, taking care to ignore any and all actual evidence to the contrary. It is to proudly wear your bias and your bigotry like a badge of honor, touting your victim card while hurling wild accusations against the wall until you can get something to stick, even if the only thing making it stick is a torrent of misinformation too rapid to discredit in a timely enough fashion for your liking. Because apologetics is not about truth. It's about keeping the narrative alive by any means necessary.
What kind of problems?
Gosh, everything from sexual violence to FGM to literacy rates to everything, really.
Sexual violence on the western side of the planet, where sexual violence against men is both trivialized and mocked, and where women can scarcely be charged with rape at all. Female genital mutilation, which doesn't happen with any measure of legal precedent on this side of the planet, even though male genital mutilation is just as bad in the Middle East and is normalized here in the West. Literacy rates on the western side of the planet, where the public school system was reformed decades ago to the appeal of the female way of learning, leading to a higher graduation rate for women, a higher college attendance and graduation rate for women, and where Title IX and similar legislation safeguards your sole gendered entitlement to scholarships despite all of these advantages laid for you in the groundwork of your primary education.
Often because we often don't measure a lot of things that happen within what we consider to be the private sphere.
Again, with this bullshit reference to the private sphere, as if any coherent definition has ever been given in order to identify any level of society wherein your female privilege does not reign supreme. As if men in society aren't bending over backwards to please you in interpersonal interactions every bit as much as those stuffed suits in Congress pushing the National Organization for Women's agenda. Please, do tell Emma, what is this private sphere?
So this year, I really want to focus on
what, Emma? Focus on what? Let me guess, generic, non-specific metrics of information to vindicate your victim narrative. Am I right?
Statistics and information and data collection.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Emma Watson, folks. Master of word salad, queen of saying lots of words without really saying anything at all.
What do you think is like the primary blind spot that guys have about this movement? About feminism, about doing the right thing?
Yes, Emma, do tell. What is this elusive blind spot that you seem to think we have despite our constant explanation for our objection? Do enlighten us, O wise Hermione of House Gryffindor.
What is it that we're not seeing?
I think the word is really difficult because it seems to inherently suggest a preferential treatment of the feminine over the masculine because it has the feminine in the word.
Are you sure that's it, Emma? Are you sure it isn't the constant browbeating about toxic masculinity and the indoctrination sessions more and more men are being forced to undertake in order to graduate? Do you think it might possibly be the incessant no means no campaigns insinuating that only men can rape even when both parties are equally drunk? Or perhaps it's your movement's insistence on invading spaces and pastimes deemed male-dominated and arbitrarily gender-swapping male roles? No, surely not. Surely it's just the feminine in the word.
And I think that's a real oversight and a misunderstanding.
Rather than just basic fairness.
Rather than just gender, just gender equality across the board. This isn't girls are better than boys, boys are better than girls. This is just everyone deserves a fair chance at whatever it is.
The word you're searching for in that empty skull of yours, Emma, is egalitarianism. And it is the concept that your movement tosses out the window with every insistence on female-only affirmative action quotas, female-centric workplace reformation initiatives, female-only pay raises, and discriminatory bake sales based on a bullshit gender wage gap that has been repeatedly discredited, female-only domestic violence shelters, female-only publications, and forced gender parity only in the lucrative, powerful, safe, comfortable, and convenient professions. It is the concept that you disregard every time you fail to acknowledge male issues, and every time you scoff at and protest those who seek to do it in your stead. Feminism most certainly is a girls are better than boys movement, and more people are aware of it every day. And with your stammering failure to bring up even a single legitimately female-exclusive problem in the West, you're only serving to awaken more people to that fact.
I think also because a lot of prejudice and certainly misogyny is so normalized, it's like it's right under people's noses. So when you raise it, there's kind of like we've dealt with that. Women got the vote ages ago. Like, this isn't a thing. And
you say that it's right under our noses, and yet you still can't give a single fucking example. Not one. I can easily give you multiple examples to the contrary. Right off the top of my head, there's the insistence that men are responsible for all the evils of society, highlighted by Margaret Thatcher's quote, "In politics, if you want anything said, ask a man. If you want anything done, ask a woman," and the female politicians who are still parroting the sentiment decades after she first said it. There's the classic "don't hit girls" double standard, and the common laughter at men who are kicked in the junk. There's the mansplaining dismissal, which is so widespread that it has found a home in the fucking dictionary and is used to silence men from personal interactions all the way up to political discourse and beyond. There's the unending slew of chart-topping songs conveying the idea that men are pigs, that men are cheating scumbags, and that men deserve to be physically abused and even fucking murdered. Need I go on? Do tell, Emma, when was the last time someone actually told you to shut up on the grounds that women shouldn't have the right to speak and it was received with applause? When was the last time you were called a pig for daring to have a sex drive, Emma? When was the last time you had to worry about being blinded with pepper spray? But yes, so much misogyny in this world. However do you cope?
And then when you start to kind of unravel it for people, they go, oh, I didn't think about that, or I didn't think about this. And if I were to say I was a feminist, it would be a personal attack on you as a man, as opposed to a patriarchal system or something much larger than an individual person. I think also men think that they can't be feminists. That's a big misunderstanding. Some of the best feminists I know are men.
Kill all men. Remember that lovely little hashtag that sympathizers with your movement started, which is still alive and kicking to this very day? How about the massive popularity of male tears mugs and male tears mug selfies? Or the Scum Manifesto, written decades ago and still peddled off on college students as if it isn't the rantings of an insane harpy calling for the mass murder of anyone with a penis? Yeah, you're right, Emma. Some of the worst feminists are men. Men like Joss Whedon, who after being reamed by the feminist Twitter hate mob, still lubes up and bends over for more abuse as the feminist poster boy that he is. Men like Justin Trudeau, who forced gender parity in the cabinet with his trademark smug grin and a proud declaration of "It's 2015," as if anyone was asking for this other than the bigoted ideologues on your side of the fence who are convinced men are keeping women down. And men like Onision, whose staunch defense of feminism still amounts to little more than classic gems such as "fuck cars." Such champions of justice, these men who denigrate their own gender to save face in the wake of feminist PR shitstorms. Such brave warriors, comfortably riding the tide of feminist hatred because they think it will keep them safe.
Why do you think they feel they can't? Like that's not masculine if you're a feminist?
Yeah, that it's not masculine if you're feminist, that only women can be feminists because it's about, again, it comes back down to that misunderstanding of
to the word, that is feminine, so I can't be.
Yeah, so I can't touch that. That's I like to joke about the man box, which is like, you can only be a man if you fulfill these certain qualities and you stay within this square of like, you're in your man box and you're safe in the man box. And something about, for some men, about going near feminism is a step out of the man box.
All of this amazing condescension and trivializing of men's concerns. And yet you can't imagine why men generally stay away from feminism despite such inviting, inclusive phrases as mansplaining, manspreading, and this nonsensical man box of yours. You just can't for the life of you understand why men aren't just leaping at the opportunity to be talked down to and spend their every waking moment apologizing for having penises and behaving like men. Why ever would they want to spend their time bonding with other men who don't make them feel like shit when they would be so much better fulfilled as a vagina hat-wearing he for she in service to women like you who know what's best for them? Listen here, you fucking simpleton. Only a few thousand miles away from you, right now, there are women who are not allowed to show their faces in public, who are not allowed to be seen in public without a man, who are not allowed to drive because they are women, who will be stoned to death if they so much as think of complaining about their lot in life. And yet you are a spoiled little girl who was paid millions of dollars to play fictional characters, called brave for sitting on Entertainment Weekly and proclaiming yourself a victim, and called empowered for unashamedly showing your flat, unappealing chest to the world. You are not a victim, Emma, and you never have been. You are the very essence of female privilege in the West.
They know it's just so fragile. It's just
going
to fall apart.
I know. It's going to fall apart.
They need to hold that box
identity
together.
structure, Definitely. And I really sense that. And also, no one likes to feel, they feel that there's blame attached to that word. And I think that's very difficult to deal with.
Mind-boggling. Absolutely fucking mind-boggling. How you can sit there with that smug expression, laugh at your own venomous accusation of fragile masculinity, all while deflecting any and all criticisms of you, your ideology, or your gender, as if the entire world should agree with you even though only you and other women stand to gain. How you can sit across from one of the pathetic cucks who now exist by the thousands, by the tens of thousands, lapping up your every non-answer as if it's the most brilliant thing he's ever heard, and still believe that your voice as a woman is somehow compromised and not given an acceptable level of credence compared to that of a man. As if you couldn't literally say any nasty, vile thing you want about men on that very stage and be applauded for it, whereas a man risks his career anytime he should dare to criticize women for anything. What I wouldn't give, Emma, to see you dropped into the middle of Saudi Arabia without your bodyguards, your lawyers, or your wealth to protect you, just so you can get a taste of what real patriarchy feels like. I can only hope enough of us see through your bullshit before it's too late, and before the world is truly handed over to self-absorbed moral authoritarians like you on a silver platter. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw here, have a look at my other videos and leave me your thoughts in the comments. If you support my message, then please like, favorite, and subscribe. If you'd like to help this channel improve, you can reach out to me on Twitter or on Facebook with any suggestions. And if you'd like to support me more directly, please consider following me on Patreon. Links in the description. Thanks again, and I'll catch you all in my next video.